In our latest installment of the Science of MKX, I wanted to touch on a core gameplay choice, which involved taking the variation system of MKX and not necessarily making 3 entirely new playstyles. This game was a perfect opportunity for NetherRealm to get creative with new variations, and add some relatively unexpected playstyles into the mix, often referring to a previous playstyle or moveset that a character had used in the past. It was also a chance to take some characters that didn't make the final cut and place some of their traits into variations as well. It's often easy to underestimate just how many modern MK fans either didn't play or have limited knowledge of the older games. Perhaps some of you genuinely didn't know just how many variations took inspiration from those games. Well, this video is for you. Join me as we explore the variations of MKX that appear to be directly inspired by previous Mortal Kombat titles. Those of you who watched our MK meta video for Mortal Kombat 9 will already know the first 2, starting with Balanced Kenshi. It shares the exact same specials as Kenshi in Mortal Kombat 9, complete with Teleflurry, Rising Karma, Teleslice, and Spirit Push. The reason they're so similar in gameplay is because the specials act in a very similar manner, especially in the final patch where moves such as the push became a lot safer on block, and enhanced push had excellent armor. The cherry on top is the fact that key normals and strings also remained, such as Kenshi's back 3-2, a universal string, but in Balanced, it feels just like MK9. There's a reason that this variation was the starting point for Kenshi players worldwide. Military Stance. It's the main gameplay mechanic of Covert Ops Sonya, and it's also the main gameplay mechanic of MK9 Sonya too. A special move that places Sonya into a stance with built-in mix-ups depending on which button that you press. It is very, very clear that Covert Ops Sonya was the MK9 version of this character. Like Balanced, there's a reason that Day 1 Sonya mains gravitated to this variation first. Gameplay-wise, Military Stance and MKX arguably bagged larger rewards in full combos for the overhead or low options, but was significantly more unsafe, turning this stance from a pressure machine in MK9 to a risky payout mechanic in Mortal Kombat X. Grandmaster Sub-Zero is another one of the more obvious characters in this video. The Ice clone has been a part of Sub-Zero's design for decades. However, it was taken to the absolute next level in Mortal Kombat X. The simple game plan of creating a clone to act as an obstacle was always around, but the increased use of the clone's utility, such as being able to throw it, took this a step beyond. MK9 Sub was the most lethal in the corner because of Ice Clone, and once again, this became even more potent in MKX due to Sub-Zero's default mix-ups. If you wanted Sub-Zero to play like he did in Mortal Kombat 3 and beyond, this was the variation you picked. Up next is Bartitsu Bo Rai Cho. This one's simple. In the 3D games, characters all had a weapon stance that you could change to. With Bo Rai Cho, he had his cane that was used as a weapon. One of the more memorable weapons because most characters simply had a sword, staff, or hammer. Bo Rai Cho's truly did stand out as unique, especially because he was a 3D staple across all 3 games. It became an extremely memorable part of his design, and it surprised none of us to see that the cane would return in Mortal Kombat X. It was certainly a nostalgia trip for me playing this variation because of his universal moves that he had in the 3D games too, like the belly barge or the monkey flips. Shinnok actually has 2 variations influenced by previous versions, only these 2 variations come from separate games entirely. Imposter Shinnok is based on Mortal Kombat 4, where Shinnok was essentially a Shang Tsung type character that would grant himself the moveset of other characters while keeping his own visuals. Imposter is a direct take from this, only the mimicry steals one special move and not an entire playstyle. Although this variation has undergone many changes as each patch has rolled out, it remains a lethal variation if you steal the right move. Necromancer Shinnok is another previous version of the character, but this time we go from MK4 to Mortal Kombat Armageddon. More of a 3D design rather than Armageddon specifically, but this was the first 3D era game that Shinnok was actually a playable character in. His main special moves were the skeleton hands. They were projectiles, grabs, and the like. The unblockable ground grab was pretty key too, due to how many times you could guarantee it in Armageddon. In Mortal Kombat X, Necromancer boasts a similar distance-based playstyle, keeping the opponent feeling like they're stuck on a grid, just like in Armageddon. Shinnok as a whole is definitely true to his previous versions from older games. Next on the list is Kobujitsu Tanya. There isn't much to say about this one because it's not really a gameplay comparison. Kobujitsu in MKX is definitely a new experience. It's more the fact that she had one of the most memorable weapons in the 3D games. They were called, you guessed it, Kobujitsu. This was more of a situation where NRS took a popular weapon and returned it. Similar to Bartitsubo Rai Cho, the gameplay is very different. Just be thankful that she can't go invisible like in the previous games. Buzzsaw Kung Lao, the closest thing anybody in MKX will get to MK9 Kung Lao. Fundamentally, it's because of the low hat toss, a move that really made its mark in Mortal Kombat 9. Functioning similar up close as a means to constantly keep their opponent on their toes, the game plan of the low hat was pretty universal across MK9 and X. Another similarity was the straight hat toss, which had similar combo possibilities as well, especially near the corner. Like the other MK9 variations, this was a popular starting point for all Kung Lao players. The Mystic variation of Ermac is another one of our Mortal Kombat 9 variations. Two things make this similar to his 2011 counterpart: the choke, which he only gets in Mystic, and the ability to combo off meterlessly from lift. Gameplay-wise, Ermac can launch universally because of the teleport in Mortal Kombat X, but the meterless lift still serves a great purpose in Mystic for using late in combos. The lift was Ermac's main source of combo damage in MK9. It really is the choke in this variation though that brings home the rewards, making the enemy feel like they can't move because of the giant hitbox, a near identical feel to fighting a good Ermac in Mortal Kombat 9 as well. Raiden's teleport was so potent in Mortal Kombat 9 that it was given its own variation in X. A good Raiden player in MK9 was tricky to fight and incredibly hard to pin down. Giving Raiden a variation entirely dedicated to the teleport was a great way for NRS to allow this playstyle to come back without making Raiden too powerful in the other variations. If you wanted MK9 Raiden, Displacer was a perfect choice. We're going to keep tradition with MK9 playstyles as our next character is Sorcerer Quan Chi. One trait and one trait alone makes this comparison possible, and that's Rune Trap. Something that is admittedly a thing of the past thanks to patches, but the ability to erase an opponent trying to block meter burn rune was a great throwback to MK9 where the technique began. In MK9, meter burn rune was unblockable and plus enough on hit to guarantee more, looping into death. In MKX, Sorcerer Quan Chi could place a hex on the opponent that increases chip damage, and loop enhanced rune into itself as it was extremely plus on block. This would be changed in patches though where looping it is no longer possible. Both of these techniques involved the opponent blocking, which was all they could do, and taking massive damage anyway. If Quan Chi returns in MK11, I expect the Rune Trap to return in some form as well, but that's just me. The final two characters are cases where another character has been placed into their own playstyle in the form of a variation. Tigrar Fury Goro is Kintaro, and that's all there is to it. Kintaro's deadliest moves were his fireballs, so, ingeniously, NetherRealm simply took Kintaro's special move pool and gave it to Goro in the form of Tigrar Fury. If you were a fan of Kintaro, this was a no-brainer to play as. The low fireball was especially dangerous with Kintaro in MK9, and it's lethal in MKX too, allowing a launch and a full combo in both games. And finally, it's Mournful Kitana. Jade is, as of this moment, unfortunately still dead in the lore, so Mournful was a way to put Jade into Mortal Kombat X with Kitana's moveset as well, allowing Kitana to mourn her best friend. The only special that Kitana is missing here is Jade's projectile shield, but everything else is still possible. The Shadow Kick and the Glaive Toss featuring as some especially useful specials. The tragic thing here is that Mournful Kitana is actually one of the strongest versions of Jade that's ever existed. She's never historically been that high tier in Mortal Kombat games, but she's definitely solid in MKX, it's just, unfortunately, not her. Variations in Mortal Kombat X were definitely a mixed bag of playstyles. Many new versions came into the mix where we saw characters in a different light, perhaps an entire change of strategy that we'd never seen before, or who knows, maybe it was just an opportunity for NetherRealm to explore some new avenues they otherwise wouldn't have taken. Either way, it gave the game great depth and variety, and the chance to revive older playstyles or take a nod to previous games that pleases the MK fan in all of us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.